Hi boys and girls, so today I'm reading Emergency Chapter 3 of Flat Stanley. See that mountain over there? Base's father, Captain Tony, was yelling in order to make himself heard over the roar of the tiniest airplane's propellers. He gestured out the window. That is Mount Kilimanjaro, the tallest peak in Africa. Stanley and Arthur craned their necks. On the horizon was a majestic white-capped mountain, but instead of rising to a point, it was flat on top. It looks like a volcano, said Arthur. Captain Tony nodded from behind his sunglasses. That is because it is one. He laughed. Do not worry. It has not erupted in thousands of years. Stanley reached over and shook his father, whose eyes had been squeezed tightly shut since the moment they'd left the ground. Dad, you have to see this. No, thank you, croaked Mr. Lambchop. Captain Tony turned the steering column and the airplane banked hard to the left. Mr. Lambchop pulled his chin down to his chest and grimaced. He did not look well. Stanley and Arthur grinned at each other. Now look over there, said Captain Tony. Stanley looked out the other window and saw in the distance what appeared to be a giant mirror on the ground. It sparkled in the sun. That is Lake Victoria, one of the largest lakes on Earth. It is as big as North Dakota. Wow, said Arthur. The airplane made its way south. In the bright sun, Stanley could look out his window and see the airplane's shadow following them on the ground below, bounding along like a graceful animal. Stanley liked to travel. He thought of Mount Rushmore and the Calamity Jane, the adventure cowgirl they had met there, and of Egypt, the Amasi, the archaeologist's daughter, and of Japan and Oda Nobu, the movie stars, and of Carmen del Junco, the great matador of Mexico. He never would have gone to any of those places or met anyone, those people, if he hadn't been flat. Down below, a giraffe was now running alongside the airplane shadow. Even from his height up, it was an unusual looking animal. It had such a very long neck and very thin legs. Stanley had once read that other animals like to have a giraffe around because its height allowed it to spot predators sooner. When a giraffe ran, all the animals ran. It was as if having a giraffe nearby helped everyone see farther. As they crossed the border into Tanzania, the cockpit radio crackled to life. A voice spoke rapidly in Swahili. Captain Tony shouted, Something back. What is it? Asked Arthur. There is a bushfire in the Nairobi National Park, said Captain Tony. This park is very close to our city. I must return at once. Mr. Lambchop opened his eyes. You should land here and let us off, he said bravely. Captain Tony shook his head. No time, he said. You will have to jump. Mr. Lambchop's mouth fell open. Captain Tony commanded Arthur to open the compartment on one side of the plane. Arthur reached inside and then held out a pack in each hand. 2 parachutes, he announced. That is what I was afraid of, said Captain Tony. Are all there is? Said Mr. Lambchop. Arthur said, I think you mean, are these all there are, Dad? Grammatically. Quiet, Arthur, said Mr. Lambchop. Stanley swallowed. You 2 use them, he said. I can jump without a parachute. Stanley Lambchop, you will do no such thing, said Mr. Lambchop. You may be flat, but you are not a bird. Dad, it's the only way, Stanley pleaded. If I could ride the wind in Canada to the Northwest Territories, then I can be my own parachute. Mr. Lambchop looked hard at Stanley. Please hurry, Captain Tony said. Mr. Lambchop blinked. Don't tell your mother, he said, grabbing a parachute from Arthur. With Arthur and Mr. Lambchop suited up, they pulled open the cargo door. Stanley's father hugged him. Fly safely, son. Arthur pulled a pair of goggles down over his eyes. He looked out the open door and grinned. Now, this is an adventure. And with that, Arthur Lambchop jumped out of the airplane. Arthur! Mr. Lambchop was stunned. Come back here! He hurled himself out of the cargo door after his younger son. Only Stanley remained. Follow the sun until you come to a river, said Captain Tony. The place you are looking for is just a few hours downstream. Thank you, said Stanley. Good luck with your fire, and good luck with your skull, replied Captain Tony with a salute. Stanley stepped up to the opening as he grabbed the handle beside the cargo door, and wind blew his feet out from beneath him. Arthur and his father looked like starfish falling through the air below. Stanley took 3 deep breaths, and then he let go. That is so fun. Who would like to do that? I highly doubt anyone, but if you do, that looks like fun. Now we're going to be going on to chapter 4. I think this was another really exciting chapter. I hope you guys enjoyed reading with me and continue reading with me. If I'm going a little fast and you're actually trying to read along with me, I will slow down. And I was reading kind of with the book like this, so it was hard, but I tried my best. Otherwise, it's very hard for me to record. All right, loves, I will see you soon, and tomorrow we will read the next fun chapter. Actually, I will not be reading one tomorrow already. It's just today, and then next week I'll move on. All right, guys, bye.